Hello and welcome to Around the Lens, episode 121. I am your host, David J. Murphy. Joining me are my co-hosts, Ron Hamilton. Hello, Ron.
Aloha from Hawaii.
Aloha. And Zach Roberts.
Hello from upstate New York.
I was going to say, is there a aloha in upstate New York?
We can't repeat it on the air.
I can't exactly. Like, we're just talking about, like making sure we keep this as a clean podcast.
Yeah.
And no, it's not.
Won't retain your clean rating if you do that. All right. Well, we got a great show for you today. We got great guests on tonight. Mr. Andy Grimm. Andy, can you please tell the audience about yourself?
Hi, I'm Andy Grimm. You want me to tell you about myself?
Yeah, man. Well, give us a little bit about your experience. Who are you? What have you done?
I am a 38-year-old photojournalist / photographer for. We run 4 local papers, and then I also do side business for my own photography.
Where are you out of?
I'm in Springfield, Ohio.
Nice.
And I run 4 businesses, and I have a 6-year-old boy, and twin 4-year-olds at home, and my wife stays at home, so it's like constantly work.
Yeah. Wow.
That's literally all it is. But luckily, my work is photography, so.
There you go. That's not bad work.
I get to enjoy it. At least it's somewhat enjoyable,
Indeed. What are your 4 businesses, by the way?
So we have like 3 smaller newspapers, and our niche is like we cover local only events. Like if it happens, Occupy Wall Street or anything like that, like we just don't cover it. We let the AP and all those guys cover it. So we do local, county, state news that falls through the cracks of the other publication. The way news used to be.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I mean, do you work for 3 other organizations, or do you own them?
No, I am co-owner of those 3 other organizations.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so my dad does all the business side of it.
Okay.
He runs the numbers, and I get to do like the creativity side of it. Like I do pagination of the newspapers as well.
Wow.
So I get to do like a dabble in typography, which that is mind-boggling. Like that it's its own.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that's.
It's pretty neat. So you do the photography and the layout and design.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, we did that. I did that back in the day when we used to have newsletters and stuff like that. And it's fun, it's kind of like its own little art form to make sure all the text is in the right place, and you make sure you don't have any dangling letters or words. If you don't have any orphans, I think they're called, right?
Yeah, orphans. Yeah.
That was always fun working. I worked in InDesign. What do you work in?
Yeah, most definitely InDesign. I can't imagine doing it.
It's the way to go.
Wait, isn't Quark still a thing?
Oh my gosh.
I don't know.
There's probably one printing press who's still doing that. Anyways,
I'm one of those people that I don't know if it plugs the business, but everybody hates on the Creative Cloud, but I think it's the greatest thing ever. Because I went from spending thousands of dollars every year on these products that I can now get it all at once. Anyway.
No, I think Creative Cloud is a great collection of different tools. If you don't mind paying the subscription price, if you're getting paid, I think it's not a bad tool set to go with. I recently completely separated myself from the Creative Cloud ecosystem and have gone completely non-Creative Cloud for all my photo, video, everything editing. Nice. And it's been, great. It's a way to go. Ron can attest. He uses open source everything. Don't you, Ron?
That's awesome.
Yes, open source everything.
Even his computer coming to us from a Linux.
Yep.
I don't even know how that's possible.
For nothing. And I stole the hardware, so completely free.
Well, we didn't bring you on to talk about printing press and pagination and dangling modifiers and compound modifiers. We brought you on to talk about something that's unique to you because you made some news recently in the last, I'd say it's about 6 months or so. But you were in the news for essentially getting shot. You were actually shot by a police officer at night while you were trying to do some photography, do some videography. Can you please talk about that experience and what happened to you?
So it was on Labor Day of last year, about 10 o'clock at night. I got done with Monday nights or pagination. So I got done with my pagination of the newspaper early. My buddy came by, picked me up at his new he just bought a Mustang. And so like we drove up down the street real quick, said goodbye to him. So a lightning storm was coming in. And so like, I love doing night photography. That's like my passion. And so, lightning storm at night, perfect. So I'm leaving, and I see a deputy is pulled over on the side of the street. So I'm like, cool, this is that one, you get those inspirations where you get to do your job, like your photojournalism job, but you get to do it artfully because you have this beautiful, like crawler lightning happening above you. So I pull in, it's literally, 4 blocks from my office. So I leave the office, I pull in, turn around in this parking lot, and I see the deputy always pulled up next to the side of him. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to surprise anybody, and you definitely don't want to come up from behind somebody. So I pull up so he can see me clearly from the side.
Right.
They said it's 67 feet was the distance. So it's 2 lanes of traffic, a sidewalk, and then 2 parking spaces. What's the distance? And I sat there, and I was in a white T-shirt because it was hot that day, and I had my press pass on, like I've done a million times. I just get out of my Jeep, and I had the top off, and my tripod was. Camera guys are gonna hate me, but I have my camera assembled on the tripod with the lens on, and I know in the back.
I do it. Don't worry.
Right? Because I knew that I was gonna go. Like I didn't want to set up in a Jeep when it's getting ready to rain, So I had it all assembled, ready to go, and I had my tripod. It was an old video tripod, right? So it had an arm that stuck out of it, right? The 3 legs go down, and then it had like an arm. So that arm was cool because I could secure it underneath the crack of the seat in my Jeep. I don't know if that makes sense. There we go. Does that make sense? That way it doesn't move. So anyway, I've done this 100 times. Anyway, so I go and just pull it out of the crack of that Jeep, and then I turn like this, and that's just when he pop out of nowhere. I mean, I got no warning. Hey, stop, freeze, or identify yourself. I mean, I didn't even have a chance to throw on like a vest or anything that said, KBA News, but I was in all white, so I didn't think a vest was necessary. But yeah,
right.
Like you guys ever, if you have identification, it's usually in the back with all your other camera gear, like my raincoat
or your camera bag or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. But so I didn't even have a chance to grab it. I literally was turning like this, and the bullet, and you can see what I was struck by the bullet because it drug like across the. Again, you want to keep the clean rating, so I'll like pull it up. Yeah, and it was just out of nowhere, and it took a while to realize that hey, you just got shot, but it's not a. Did I get shot? It was like, yeah, you got shot, like. But how? He didn't stop. Like, he didn't, yell stop. He didn't say anything.
Right.
Oh, it was surreal. It was really surreal.
Wow.
And then, yeah. And then I don't know, like, to me, it was, like, the beauty in all of it is when I'm laying there before any medics or anything. I'm just laying there, like, with covering this hole. I don't know, like, if I'm dying or what. And the officer's on top of me, and he's sad because he knows who I am at that point. He's come over to me, rushed over to me. But I'm laying here like, oh, man, do I get to talk to my wife, my kids? And then now this beautiful lightning is directly over top of us. And I was just thinking, like, man, if I had my camera, like this is that moment. Like, because I had a 16 millimeter on, so even if I could just lay there and done like a half a second shot, anyway.
Get the ultimate selfie of
right,
yeah.
But it was just in my. So I guess it's one of those things in my mind. But yeah, it was just really beautiful. And
in case anybody's ever wondered what the photographer's last thoughts are before he passes away.
Right? Yeah.
Gosh, this would make a great shot.
Yeah.
It really was. I've never really talked about that part of it, but I figure if any place to do it, like, why not?
Yeah.
The camera guys, why not? They understand.
Now, Andy, I got a question. Is your tripod? What caliber was that?
So it was a.
What gauge?
I don't
What
even
gauge?
know.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of my good friends is like this 67-year-old NRA, like gun-loving guy, but he's into cameras too. So we really he's retired from the union and this and that. But it's his old tripod for when he got his first VHS, camcorder where you slide the VHS in the side, and it was massive. But so I mean, this thing's literally older than me, this tripod was, but it had like silver plating or aluminum plating on the side. Like that was back when aluminum cost too much to use. But, so I mean, it was shiny and everything. So like I can joke about it,
right?
Like, as long as it's funny, you know what I mean? Like, like that's why I don't mind like those kind of jokes, because it's like the thing clearly looks nothing like a gun.
Yeah.
You know, there's no, only in Call of Duty and whatnot do you get to put chrome or aluminum on your rifle. I'm very animated when I talk. I'm sorry. But.
No, it's okay. Makes for better video. That's right. Only in the video games do you have gold-plated weaponry.
Right, yeah. But then the tripod that they did, because the sheriff's department replaced my camera and the tripod, right? But the tripod they got me was like one of these, I really need a tripod, and Walmart's the only place that's open, so I'm going to go drop $30 on one. But like the handle on it looked like, it's one of those ones where it has a handle.
Oh, my God.
Oh, God, actually has the pistol grip on it.
Exactly. Yeah, so... Right. Yeah, I was like, well, are you guys trying to finish the job?
For the next time.
So luckily then I got the guy that owns the camera store in Columbus. It's the closest local camera store. It's 45 minutes away, but he actually lives in New Carlisle. So he heard the story and he's like, you know, we're not like B&H Photo, because B&H gave me a camera as well. He's like, but I feel like we should do something. So they replaced it with a proper tripod.
Nice.
Nice.
Yes. So that's the first time I've had like a proper carbon fiber. I mean, the thing's amazing.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah.
So you're saying is all I have to do to get some new equipment is be shot by a cop? I mean, that's... Wow.
Well,
Easy. Too easy.
Right. But, yeah.
And not die.
So we were, before the show, like we were discussing about this Nikon 7200 FL EDVR2, and I'm like, yeah, that's why I have it. Right. So, yeah. Unfortunately, fortunately, people do nice things for you after you get shot for no reason.
Yeah.
I mean, the community was amazing. I don't know if I'm talking too much or whatever, but yeah, the community was amazing as far as that. Like, you know, the camera stores, they sent me Midwest Photo, who I bought that 7200 lens from. They sent, like, I got it the next day. They called me, make sure everything was good. Like, and it was, I mean, they got me a camera bag, real nice camera bag, and then people from the community started bringing me dinner every night. So like, I didn't have to worry about that. That was the best part. I mean, people said stuffed pork chops. I'm like, I haven't eaten like this in forever, because, you know.
Have you seen like more people, because he's run community newspapers? Have you seen more people like start looking at your work and like locally? Has it kind of like grown awareness at all, or? Like, especially, I mean, like, this is like also one of these with the weird side portion of this story that never really was talked about, because obviously this was national news for a bit, is that you were a super local reporter, and kind of like that because as you say, a bunch of interviews, you talk about how you knew the guy. Like, it wasn't like, you know, like someone getting beat up by the NYPD. It's like you don't really have those relationships or anything like that, but like you actually knew the guy's first and last name.
Yeah. Like in fact, that's the first thing I said. It's a clean rating. Bleep.
Yeah.
Jake, you shot me. You know, so like, yeah, I knew him, but that's because he's this big, massive bodybuilder. And the reason I told the story about me driving the Mustang is I'd seen him sitting there clocking people, and I was like, oh, thank God I had the sense to follow the speed, because I'm a brand new Mustang. I drive a Jeep Wrangler, so I get any kind of power. But yeah. So my businesses are these 3 local only news. And like I said, we cover county agencies. So we had a deputy sheriff shot and killed on duty on New Year's Day in Enid, Ohio, Deputy Suzanne Hopper, right? And that was in our coverage area. So I was like, you know, let's do everything we can to increase this police community relationship in hopes that we can avoid something like that again. And the sheriff and all the deputies were all about it, you know. So they'd hire a new guy, like we'd run a story about it. You know, we're that local, like.
Yeah.
Because again, we're small town Ohio. We're not upstate New York, or I wish I was in Hawaii, you know. But
Don't we all?
Yeah. But yeah, so it's just local only, local. Yeah. So I knew the guy. I mean, we weren't like friends as in like, hey, let's go get a beer, but yeah, we'd see him. We had this thing I was trying to do because I have twin 4-year-olds, a boy and a girl. We were trying to do this story or to do a picture. Like I thought it'd be cool of him because he's a bodybuilder like this with my kids hanging from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we talked about a shoe before. I didn't know like this kind of shoe, but
Typical
so
Jake. Typical Jake.
Yeah. So like if that's what I'm saying. If he had that half second to think or to understand what was happening, that he'd say, "Oh, hey, that's Andy." You know.
Has there been any? Do you know of any like police training or anything that's happened since then? Just like here's a tripod, here's a gun, at least, or something.
To my knowledge, no, there's been no additional.
Really.
What they need to do is they need to create a life-size stand-up of you with your tripod in their like shoot house, and that way, when they're going around, they're shooting the bad guys, making sure not to shoot the hostage. You come up, you pop up. That
sounds like really bad optics, Dave.
I'm just saying that's why they get trained not to shoot the photographer with the tripod. Yeah. That's all I'm saying. It's training.
Seriously, yeah. You have like the little lady with the grocery bag, like she pops up, and then the little girl with the lollipop. I don't know if we said that one, but then there's the news photographer.
Yeah, with the photographer.
Yeah, but seriously, like the lady, I became really good friends with all of the journalists from around here, like the big name and the TV news and all that. So, but one lady, she's like in tears to me from Fox 45. She's in tears to me, like describing like we're all affected by this now. Whether it's a conscious thought or not, that's okay. I'm getting my gear out, look around and make sure I'm not scaring anybody because technically we all know the cop never gets indicted. I was prepared for that, but not only was he not indicted, but he's back on duty. Like he has a gun. That's weird. And it's like not even a slap on the wrist. He has 6 weeks paid vacation. And I'm just like, I'm not hating on the guy or anything. I'm just giving you guys facts. So this is something that now, we all have to worry about is if the act of this is going to be scary to somebody.
Yeah.
That's horrifying to me. So like, I don't cover that stuff anymore. And that's sad because as we talked about before, the D750 that I have, I love it for low light. Right. And so that's what's better than the dark of night, with police lights and ambulance lights or fire,
And it's also kind of some of the most important things that can happen on a local, on a super local level is what the police force is doing. Because otherwise there's not breaking political news. It's not you're in Ohio, so every 4 years you get a nice big, news bump. But other than that, it's like I live in the rural area in upstate New York. Nothing goes on here other than I see a police siren and I'm like, it probably means that somebody's house is burning down or the meth lab down the street blew up.
Right. So it's a lot of those meth labs.
That actually was not a made up thing. That literally happened.
Oh wow.
So you don't shoot any more of this kind of like night stuff anymore because of this incident? You've kind of sworn that off?
Well, I wouldn't say it's not because of this incident at all. Because I was out. I got shot on a Monday. And I was out Friday night. This Ohio State Highway Patrol had a DUI checkpoint set up, and so I go out there because I go out to the OVI checkpoint, and I was welcomed there with open arms. And I got let me back up. It's because Canon sent me this stuff because my camera got ruined in the rain. Sorry, I'm backtracking. My camera got ruined in the rain. Oh. Canon sent me like $15,000 worth of camera gear.
Wow.
So I had this nice Canon 3D Mark V 3D. I'm not a Canon guy, forgive me. Right. And so I get in a 50 millimeter f1.2, which was amazing. And they gave me the 70-200. So I go out. I'm like, I want to use this stuff. Yeah, it hurts, but I really want to go out. I want to get back to my First Amendment right, So I go out and I shoot or photograph an OVI checkpoint. And I got some amazing photos, man. But so the incident had nothing to do with it. It's the fact that there's no indictments, there's no punishment, and so now it's like a green card. Like, okay, if you're scared by even somebody we know, a photographer, a member of the media doing his job, if you're scared for your life, you can fire. And so that's why I don't go do it anymore. Now, if it's a fire department or something, I'll go to the fire. Anyway,
I'm sadly not shocked that that he didn't see any punishment for it. like just because I know history.
Right.
But I'm shocked that there's not even training, because I mean, at least that's one thing that even the NYPD at least goes through training in quotes, and like much of the thing. I would definitely reach out to the NPPA, whether you're a member or not, and ask them to see if they could reach out to your local police force and give a little bit of training, because that's actually one of the really good things that that at the National Press Photographers Association does, among many other things. But like, I'd really recommend that, because that's that's just. It's mind blowing that there's not even a like, okay, guys, so you don't shoot police, like at least a memo that goes out to the people.
There was even a training simulator. The sheriff's department brought a training simulator to the fair last year. Which this is interesting, because at the fair they had a display of all these pictures out front of my pictures of them at night. You know what I mean? So then they had this simulator, right, where you could go in and there's different scenarios, and you have this fake gun, and it's like a real life video game. You know, pop, 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 pop. Yeah. And I photographed that. I photographed them doing that, and never once was there like a tripod or anything. But so we did a story about it. All the TV stations around here did a story about it, because it's a big deal. It costs a lot of money to get that thing here. Yeah. And we promoted it like, hey, look what our sheriff's department is doing. They're learning things. Like, they're learning how to not shoot.
Now, Andy, you got a lot of photograph equipment out of this situation. Very nice for you to make out like that. Tell me, did the officer also receive a new gun?
I wouldn't say make out, but no, like, and he, like, I thought, okay, so I'm into comedy, right? Like, I'm always trying to smile, right? But so, like, you've seen the other guys, right, where they do the desk pop and they lose their guns and they end up with a wooden gun. Like, they have to go out on the streets with a wooden gun. So everybody was joking about that, right? And I still think it's funny, like, that he should have a wooden gun. And that is funny. But no, he doesn't even have the wooden gun. I'm assuming he has his gun now. But I still don't have my camera, which is interesting. That's true. Like, because it's mine. It's like I got shot with it. And I did hold it again in the grand jury. And it's like, well, I want it.
Well, they still have it in evidence?
Yeah, it's still evidence, yeah.
But the case is over, or is it the civil lawsuit?
Yeah, civil lawsuit. Obviously, like, why not? You know.
Yeah.
We have a Patreon page in case you win.
You have a what? I'm sorry.
That's high technology. It's just a way for people to donate to the show. Patreon.com/Around the Lens. Yeah. Donate today. But thanks, Ron. Good plug there. But I do want to address. Obviously, the Washington Post did a write up about the incident. Obviously, trying to get the kind of the police officer side of the story, and I was hoping you could address what they said in this story, if you feel comfortable, or not doing that. But essentially they said that you had a history of coming up and sort of doing things that made them worry. And I was wondering if you wanted to address any of the things that, I don't know if you've seen this article or want to address anything that was in the article.
No, I haven't seen it. I didn't know that it ran as far as the Washington Post.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. It's the Seattle Times. The Seattle Times wrote about it. Basically, they said, here, I'll go over some of the points for you if you want to rebut them or whatnot. But Deputy Nick Moody told investigators he wasn't comfortable with Grimm's approach in January 2017 while conducting a traffic stop. The driver of a van, later identified as Grimm Slowly, he circled his location twice before stopping. Moody said, Sergeant Ralph Underwood warned Grimm after the photographer arrived at a deputy's traffic stop about 2 years ago and took pictures with the deputy expressing concerns about the incident. And then a Major Andy Reynolds told investigators that other deputies have expressed issues with Grimm, though he couldn't identify them. Records show told investigators he was aware other deputies from the department cautioned Grimm such poor behaviors of poor tactics. Anyways, again, just a lot of people trying to make a case against you, and I was just curious if you want to address any of those, specifically while we had you on the show to kind of like say, oh yeah, that was, true or not true, or, do you think that this is like legitimate, or you think they're trying to make something, trying to essentially, find a way to sort of defend themselves?
Yeah, I was, okay. I mean, obviously there's like a brotherhood, right?
Right.
The blue line and all that. So, I mean, and that's why we never see cops get indicted for, you know, any of these shootings. Very rarely, you know, do they do it. So that's from the those notes from that article, or from the grand jury the Bureau of Criminal Investigation, BCI, Ohio BCI criminal investigation of the incident, right?
Right.
And so this is what they presented to the grand jury.
Okay.
So grand jury is like completely secret. But here we have, like, I can talk about it because I was involved.
Right.
So, but since I have the civil suit, like, I don't want to seem like I'm bashing the grand jury process. Like,
Sure.
I came out like, I don't want to be the face of any cop hatred or anything. But anyway, so like, the you know, bunch of police officers, the Bureau of Criminal Investigation, this is their way of investigating one of their own,
right.
behind the blue line. It's their way of investigating his actions. So what's the easiest thing to do? He's clearly in the wrong. He's on body cam. He didn't get out of the car and identify himself. I don't know if we addressed that. Like, there was no, hey, stop, shoot, or stop anything.
Yeah, no, you definitely mentioned that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So like, yeah, this is their investigation of a guy who clearly did something wrong.
Right.
I was clearly within my constitutional rights. I was in no way scaring him or anything. But so, yeah, their defense is say, hey, look, this guy was a problem. Okay, I get that. But then, like, to smear my name, I guess, is like, and when I had every opportunity for the past 6 months to smear this deputy who shot me, like, I had every opportunity to smear him, but I wanted to take the high road. I didn't want to be the face of any anti-cop. That's too much drama for me. I don't want that. I want people to support their law enforcement. Absolutely. And I want the law enforcement to do their job, you know, so. But, so yeah, this was their investigation, and they came out and said that I did all these bad things. But what really hurts is, like, okay, so I had my son with me in the incident that Nick Moody's describing. Because I don't know if they mentioned that I had a small child with me.
I don't see that in the story.
Yeah, because that's in the report. Okay. Which is interesting that that's left out. It's in the report. It said Grimm and a small child. So I was out with my son. We were photographing trains because he's 6, right?
Yeah.
And there was a parking lot. It's downtown Springfield, like everywhere else is, like, you know, everything's moved out. So we parked in this giant parking lot right next to this train track. Well, then we heard that the officer had somebody pulled over and was waiting on backup. So we're like, okay, cool. We'll go over here and we'll just sit and watch because we're in a parking lot across the street from them. So, like, you know, I go in there. As I'm circling twice, as described in the incident, I'm flashing my headlights and I'm honking my horn. And I'm having my boy next to me. He loves it because he goes, ah, like that. I tell him to make noise so we can be seen, you know. And we're doing that as we're driving around. Then we park next to him, you know, way far away. And we get out so he can see us, and we go up to him and everything. And he's like, oh, yeah. Well, we don't even go to the deputy. We walk over to the train tracks. And the deputy's like, hey, you're Andy Grimm, aren't you? Because he knows me from the department.
Right.
My picture. But the first time I've seen him out and about, right? So, yeah, he called me over. And then, wow. Yeah, tells the investigators, like, hey, look, I did have a problem with Andy once. He scared me. Him and his little boy scared me with that dangerous tripod he had. So that bothers me. And the other one, it was Ralph Underwood. That's when I decided I needed to, like, all right. I've known that guy over, like, my whole life. He was my safety village or whatever, safety city officer, right? You guys have stuff like that when you're little kids. And anyway, so I've known this guy like 30 years, friend of the family, very, very good guy. Just completely shocked that he was the fall guy. Like, he's the guy that, like, it's BS. Every single word of that response is BS. I'll tell you, nothing of that is true. Like I told you, at the fair, they had a big display board of my photographs at night. They programmed my police scanner. The exact same week of the fair, they programmed my brand new police scanner so that I could cover them more. You know what I mean? And then to come out and say, oh yeah, he's had problems. We've had problems. Oh, yeah. That's just makes me so angry, man. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah, I just want to give you your chance to obviously set the record straight from the source. But how are you doing so far? I mean, are you all healed up, or are you still?
Oh yeah, like healed up. I was out of the hospital within 12 hours.
Okay.
No, 24 hours, and I mean.
So just a graze then? Was it a graze, or did it go through you?
No. So I got grazed on my shoulder.
Okay.
And like I'll show it. Like, do you want to see it?
Sure. Yeah. Why not? We just don't like swear words, but violence is totally okay.
Yeah. So the body's amazing. That's why I don't mind showing it. Like, it's amazing how quickly it heals. It was within 6 weeks it had healed back up.
Wow.
Right. So I always feel weird when I do this. I don't know if you can see it. Like, yeah.
Oh,
it came in right here. That's me stuck in the dead too. Yeah, and it came out.
Oh, jeez.
It's always weird to say you're lucky in these scenarios, but
because if I was lucky, I wouldn't have got shot. But
What's the point of having a bullet wound like that if you can't show it off? Am I right?
Yeah, right. Well,
I'd be like wearing a shirt that had just an opening right there all times, just so people could see that.
The guy, like my photography mentor, he's like, man, it's too bad you're married, because if you were single, you have like the greatest pickup line. Like, I got the scar from being shot. I was like, yeah, but obviously I'm too skinny. I'm not walking around without my shirt on, you know?
Yeah.
But, sorry, my kids are in the kitchen. I don't know if you can hear that.
A little bit. That's okay. I got kids too. I'm also 38, so I feel your pain.
Yeah.
And Zach, are you 38 yet?
No, I'm still 36 for the moment.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
I can't remember how old you were.
And no children, just a border collie.
Yeah.
Ron, are you 38 yet?
I'm also 38. Yeah.
Yeah. For those people watching or listening, Ron is not 38. In case you can't tell from the video. He's at least 28. All right, Andy. Well, so I mean, but you're back doing the job, right? I mean, you're doing it during the day, right? Or are you?
No, I don't go anywhere near. Because you heard, I mean, you just read what that's their.
Well, I mean, not near cops, but I mean, you're doing general photography and photo journalism, right?
Most definitely, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, that's good. I mean, that's the thing. That's you're still doing the job, just not doing that particular aspect. Is there somebody else on staff who does that? Do you like tell them, hey, when you go out at night, make sure you say, hey, it's me, the photographer. I've got a tripod right here.
Yeah.
Like, do you have any? Do you train the people on your staff the people you work with, and say,
No,
like, hey, how to interact with the police?
No, I mean, there's nothing different that could be done. I did an interview with F-stoppers right after this happened. I was like, I'm sorry, I have no safety advice to give you. I mean, I gave her what I normally do.
How not to get shot. Yeah,
like normally you want to make yourself aware. You don't want to go up from behind them, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, like I wouldn't do anything differently. I mean, I wouldn't. I did the same thing I do every single time,
Biggest thing I would take is don't ever use tripods. That's
right.
The easy thing, right?
Don't leave the camera pre-assembled, like the camera and tripod pre-assembled.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's just odd. I mean, I was talking to a bunch of I also work entertainment news, and I was talking to a bunch of entertainment journalists, and I made some joke about how I have a ballistic helmet. I have a bulletproof helmet and a bulletproof vest in my trunk at all times, and they're like, "What?" Like they just looked at me like, why in your trunk, not in I understand if you go travel foreign. I'm like, because it's dangerous, because this stuff happens. Like police are really not good at aiming in general, and also other people like to shoot back,
Right.
So,
I mean, it's scary, but I mean, like we'd expect something like this maybe in New York or like a bigger city like Columbus. But I mean, we've been in a national, like New Carlisle was in national news like 4 times last year. Like,
wow.
Big grain silo collapse. I don't know if you heard about that. We're like, I don't know, camera guys might not hear it, but so I still go cover stuff like that. But
wait, the grain silo collapse, that was international news.
It was, because like, I mean, it was full of corn and it just collapsed in the middle of the night, went everywhere. But there was a great drone shot of it. But anyway.
Oh wow. Speaking of grain silos, anybody seen A Quiet Place? Am I right?
Right.
No words. I haven't seen it yet.
Okay. Well, you won't believe it, but Iron Man dies in A Quiet Place. Just kidding. Iron Man does. I don't know. I'm not saying anything.
But there was you didn't hear the pig story of where sorry. This is what we were in the national news for this, seriously. And I passed on it as, I was like, no one's going to care about this story. It's dumb. Clearly they're in the wrong, right? So this family had a pet pig, right? Well, in the city ordinance, it says you can't have farm animals, right? So clearly the family's in the wrong. And the city says, look, you can't have this pig in the city, in the farm, or a farm animal in the city. And so they're like, how dare you make us get rid of our family pet? And so that made national news. That's it. That's all there is to it. You know what I mean? And I'm like, who cares? They were in the wrong. But I guess it's like pulling on the hearts of little kids and whatnot. But yeah. It's like, anyway.
Anyways, moving on. Is there anything else anybody would like to ask Andy before we move on to other topics? Okay, great.
So next time, Andy, are you going to be more careful and maybe have your tripod unloaded, perhaps, when you go into a situation like that?
Yeah. Yeah, unloaded with I don't know.
Yeah.
I won't have it assembled anymore.
Well, just have it on safe. That's the biggest thing. Just keep it on safe.
That would be, yeah.
And then
safe.
Yeah. All right.
Maybe a little flag in there.
Little orange tips, like the old cap guns. Do you remember those?
Yes. This is the moment in the podcast where I look into the camera and go and remind everybody who's not a working photojournalist. Photojournalists have really dark senses of humor. We literally do this for a living, and this is what photojournalists talk when we're not being listened to in general. Yeah. Occasionally, you'll be sitting with a bunch of photojournalists at a diner somewhere and realize, oh my God, we're horrifying all the families around us because we're joking about that double homicide we shot or whatever, photographed the other. It's like,
or the stuff we say when we're shooting the double homicide.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but we're just waiting for hours for somebody that can say something like, it's under investigation. Will this just
happen?
But so you're standing there like, well, we have to do something. So why not? Yeah.
We're some messed up folk. Aren't we? All right. Well, to move on to something a little more lighthearted, but also relieving, is a photographer won his case in the Monkey Selfie case that was out. May have heard about this. Essentially, I think the photographer set up his camera and the monkey took the picture, or I don't know exactly how the event went down, but essentially the monkey pressed the shutter release button on a camera and took a selfie of himself, and PETA was trying to fight for the monkey's rights, apparently, even though the monkey doesn't understand what copyright is, or probably what a camera is, or anything. And they were trying to say, no, the monkey owned the photograph, so all profits and proceeds made from that photograph go to the monkey. Anyways, so this court case went all the way up to a really high court and the 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, and they upheld the lower ruling that it had reached, essentially said that the monkey cannot have copyright. So unless PETA appeals this and goes up to the next higher court, this precedent is now set in stone that animals cannot hold copyright.
Well, I expect that PETA will be responsible and not try to escalate this any further. I mean, come on. That would be ridiculous, right?
Yeah, PETA would never. I mean, the good thing is that the judge kind of roundly mocked PETA, if I remember correctly, in this. I'm trying to find the exact wording. So that's at least a positive thing, because that means that likely an appeal might be likely to be denied, because this is pretty high up for I forget what the next step is, whether it's Supreme Court or not. I mean, the sad thing is that this was nothing about photography, nothing about copyright, nothing about anything, except PETA is desperately trying to attach personhood and personhood rights to animals, so that basically it allow basically that animals can't be killed for food and all the things that go along with kind of human right. If you're a human, all the rights that you have. And so thankfully a court finally kind of noticed what they were actually after and said no. And also, I mean, the really big thing too is that, I mean, this literally, like, not only copyright wise, like photo wise, I mean, how many photos would have this really done much for? But it would have kind of destroyed destroyed the economy, like instantaneously, if it had actually been something, and PETA could then, sue on behalf of somebody's dog because, they're not giving the right amount of food or something. I don't know what.
You didn't get a model release for that dog, so therefore.
That's what I was gonna say. Like every time you shoot, these wildlife photographers photographing, like, did you get that polar bear's consent?
Yeah.
I think it was nothing. It was nothing about nothing other than PETA.
Yeah. It's also a big fundraiser. That's what PETA does, is they do fundraisers. This, speaking as a former member of PETA, before I realized how completely, totally nuts they are. And this is what they do, is they just do fundraisers, and they do things that get media attention to their cause. And for some reason, they seem to be really obsessed with doing things that make people hate them. Like the normal people who, like, you would think they'd want to pull into the cause of maybe just eating less meat. But,
I'm a member of that other PETA organization.
Oh,
People
God.
eating tasty animals.
Yes.
Have you heard of that one?
I have seen that T-shirt.
Yeah. Okay.
Never heard of it. I thought it was interesting what the judge said here is that PETA essentially, used Naruto as their unwitting pawn in its ideological goals. So it's like, they're using PETA and they're using the animal just as much as, they would claim that the photographer is using the animal to profit.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a good sort of shutdown of PETA and their sort of desires to make this something more than what it was. So definitely a good thing that this happened.
Did PETA get the animals' consent to be their legal representation?
I don't know. That's a good question.
We're in Ohio. It's like red country everywhere. Yes.
I'm a bleeding heart liberal social justice warrior, and I found this completely hilarious and ridiculous.
When I saw the topic, I was like, man, I hope we don't. Yeah.
And almost every one of my even vegan and vegetarian friends thought this was ridiculous.
Yes.
Even if they believe that animals should have personhood rights, the way they were going about it made them realize, especially most of my friends are artists or photographers or whatever. They're like, oh, great, this would destroy, this potentially then destroys so many different things. So,
I believe in giving personhood rights to dolphins. Dolphins can have personhood rights. Every other animal, I don't know.
Yeah.
They're smart. I think they're smarter than most people, so I'm down for that.
Probably. All right, let's move on to our next topic. We talked about mirrorless cameras last week. It was a sort of the main point of conversation. In case you didn't know, Eros Hoagland, famed photojournalist, is not switching to, but adopting Micro Four Thirds as a camera system. Anyways, Nikon and Canon, of course, all want to kind of get on this train and kind of catch up, and that's what they're doing. They're playing catch up because they're kind of behind the fold, but apparently Nikon is moving forward at a pretty rapid pace, although they're still way, way far behind all the other camera manufacturers. But they're trying to catch up, and they hope to have something out by the end of March 2019 in the mirrorless realm that will compete with like the A9, the A7, the GH5.
Oh, when did you get that one, Dave? That's nice.
About over a year ago. Anyways, but yeah, they're finally coming out with some mirrorless kit. Andy, what do you think about mirrorless cameras? Do you have any experience with them? Do you think they're the next coming of photography, digital photography?
I personally haven't used one, but all the videographers I know, they say nothing but good things about, was it the Sony A7 something? I don't
A7S, A7R3, A7 III.
Yeah. All those, yeah, they say nothing but good things, but they're not like photographers. I know a lot of photographers that have dropped that Sony mirrorless and come over to Nikon. Mm-hmm. Like the 750 and stuff, because they say the glass selection just isn't there yet.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if it's just glass selection, then if Nikon came out with a mirrorless that had their glass selection, do you think that they would come over?
Oh, I can't speak for them, but I mean, I could say I would be more, if you're telling me that I can use all my full frame DSLR lenses on a mirrorless. Well, I'd try it most certainly, but
okay. Because I mean, that's where they're trying to go. Is that, like, for instance, if Canon came out with a mirrorless camera, while I still own Canon, that was equivalent to what I could get for the GH5. I'd probably consider adopting a Canon mirrorless, just so I wouldn't have to adopt a whole new lens set, Although you can get adapters, I mean, it's just not the same unless it's like the real glass,
Yeah.
What do you shoot with currently, Andy?
I shoot on a Nikon D750, and
is that the new one, the one that just came out, or is that the 850?
No, that was the D850,
Okay.
right? But it shot like 56 megapixels or something like that,
Yikes.
megabytes. It's just files are just. But as a photojournalist, that's just unreasonable,
Yeah.
I already have enough hard drives filled up with raw files. But yeah, so no, the D750, and I have two of them. From one, B&H Photo sent me one. I just want to say that.
All right.
I'm so grateful for that. It was amazing, absolutely amazing. So I have two of them, and so one of them I use a Nikon 2470 f2.8 VR,
Right.
which is a great lens. But my favorite is my absolutely new favorite lens in the entire world is the Nikon 200 FL ED VR. I think I got it all in there. That thing's like a dream, man.
Yeah.
Like that. I always tell people it's $3,000 worth of confidence. That's all it is. You hold it up, it's like a great picture. Yeah. But no, real quick, had I known though, I fell in love with that 50 millimeter 1.2 from Canon.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that thing is. I think the price tag was like $2,500 or something like that. But
yeah,
I would any day of the week. That thing was so nice. Like had I known that Nikon didn't make an f1.2 like that, I don't know. I might have bought a Canon instead of the second D750. I don't want to say I would have switched, but
there is a manual one you can find.
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
but it's manual, but it is gorgeous, but it's hard to find nowadays because I think everyone who owns it will never let go of them. So.
Right. But yeah, and I would consider that, but I think at 1.2 that'd be kind of hard, especially as doing photojournalism. I'd probably use it more on portraits, but still, yeah.
Yeah, it is. I can promise you. Yeah.
I mean, I love that. I like the Canon 5D Mark IV 3. Does that sound right? Is that one of the Canons?
5D Mark IV is a camera, yes.
Yeah, I don't know. There's like so many letters and stuff, but that thing was really, really sharp. I enjoyed my time with it, but
if you don't enjoy it, you can send it to Hawaii. I'll tell you.
Or you can donate to the Around the Lens Foundation.
Or you can do that.
I liked it. But and then the local guy programmed it like my Nikon, so all the buttons were where I was used to, and I really enjoyed it then. But yeah, I still like Nikon.
Yeah. So if a Nikon mirrorless came out, you give it a look, maybe give it a consideration. But you probably don't plan on upgrading regardless anytime soon. I would imagine if you just got new cameras.
Yeah, I mean the thing we were talking about this beforehand. I'm sorry, but like the thing I really like about the 750 is its low light capabilities, and I know that's one of their bullet points when they sell it. But
sure.
I mean, seriously, it's phenomenal. I do stuff with that camera I wouldn't even think of doing before. With I had a D90 before.
Isn't the 850 even better?
Yeah,
the 850 with the low light. I mean, I'm not sure with that, but
the 850 is on par with is actually slightly. I think it's was rated just slightly better than the most recent Sony. What is it, A7 or I forget what whatever the super low light one is. The 850, it's completely insane. I mean, except it's $3,300 if you can find one. They're still very difficult to get. I'm still trying to get Nikon to NPS to send me one to test out, and they keep sending me emails and be like, at this time we're not doing that.
Yeah, according to Ethan Rocky, they don't even exist. So
yeah.
Let's see at that price tag. Why not? Like as soon as you hit the $3,000 mark, I'm like instantly D3. Why wouldn't you go?
Well,
the
D850 is on par at least with the D4. And it's half the body size.
Yeah.
So that's nice, but it's also, I think it actually may be on par with I think it's actually on par with the D5. It's the same sensor. But it's a little tiny bit slower, but not too much. Like people are using the 850 for sports, at a higher level. No, it's a beast. And even Even though I wish it was cheaper. I mean, obviously no crap, but like it's a very reasonable price. It'll be super interesting what sensor they put on the first mirrorless here, because I mean it has to be on par with the D850 when it comes to low light and everything like that. Otherwise, and also again, I mean the biggest thing is if it doesn't have 4K, then literally no one's going to buy this camera, because I mean that's basically every mirrorless person I know is shooting Sony, or shooting, or even shooting Panasonic or whatever, and they're using it primarily for video because it's better for video than, say the DSLRs or the traditional DSLRs are.
Yeah. All right, well, let's go move on to our last topic this evening. We're talking about somebody who's faking their work and getting recognized for it, but then, of course, it gets recognized, but then it gets identified that you faked your work. It's a photograph of an anteater at a giant anthill, and it's a night shot, and it's basically what turned out to be a stuffed taxidermy anteater that somebody has stolen from this wildlife park and placed at this anthill. And then their photograph, they said, "Oh, look, what luck! An anteater came as I was photographing this anthill." And then they're like, "No, that's stuffed." And they actually send like experts look at the photograph and say like, "Nope, it's exactly the same as this stuffed guy. You're trying to pull a fast one on it." And this isn't the first time that somebody has tried to imitate, how to fake an animal. There was a 2009 photograph, a grand prize photo, that's supposedly a wild Spanish wolf jumping over a gate, and they realized it wasn't wild at all, but a trained, tame wolf from the zoo. So what do you think about this? I mean, obviously, there are people who try to pass off work, try to manipulate their work. The most obvious examples we see are people who Photoshop like two photos together or do something, manipulation after the fact, but actually trying to pass off, a posed staged image. I mean, we haven't seen the likes of this since Steve McCurry posed his photographs and, whatnot. But what about
At least those people were alive, though.
Yeah. You think that. You never know.
As far as we know.
He didn't use mannequins to...
That would have been great if he did. Then it would be like, wait a second. Those are mannequins.
Oh, my God.
But, what do you guys think? Ron, what do you think of this this photo debacle here? What's wrong with our industry, huh?
This reminds me, for the astute viewers that were paying attention, 2 weeks ago, neither I nor Zach could make the show, and Dave had to do it alone with our guest. And last week, Zach mysteriously appeared without me, and I'd like to come clean on exactly what was going on with that. And
okay, sure.
Zach was trying to win a Pulitzer by setting me on fire.
Well,
and,
yeah, that's
I
right.
thought you were going to say you were the anteater.
Got into a suit.
You're like, I was busy posing as an anteater, and
yeah, no, golly. I guess I learned my lesson. I won't take pictures of fake anteaters. What a ridiculous situation.
I mean, the
what a
crazy
goofball.
thing is, if everyone should look at the actual, like the other award winners, like the grand prize winner, which is a unbelievable photo of a rhino that was dehorned, unbelievable still. And then all the other ones, even the runner-ups, are by far more spectacular than this kind of muddy looking anteater shot.
Not even good.
I mean, that's the crazy thing, is that first off, it just looks staged. Like, I mean, if you know how an anteater looks, and also second, if you know it's a long exposure and just the technical details of how photography works, it's so clearly, it's either a Photoshop or it's staged. And I got to say, it's actually a fantastic staging, because technically, in that way, it's good.
I wonder if he had wrote in the caption that he placed a stuffed anteater next to this anthill, and they didn't read the caption. They just went and gave him the award based on the photograph. He technically would have been like, yeah, I said in the caption it was a fake anteater, so I still win.
So I'm on this huge trip of personal responsibility. So it's not entertaining, okay, the contest rules stated that you can't do that, then clearly like it's terrible. But I mean, as far as like you just see that photograph, you'd be like, oh, okay. I don't think it's that good. I think the green lights or whatever it is on the hill were distracting to me, but like it's just not interesting.
Well,
Like
apparently
said,
those are some kind of glow-in-the-dark beetle or bug or something like that. So that's legitimate.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, it's distracting to me, but like the like I'm with you with the tech, because as a fan of night photography, like it's my favorite to do. Like you're like, how did he get the wildlife in there? And then it's like, okay, well, what is this for? Like, as a photojournalist, obviously you don't touch it. I mean, you want to sharpen it or whatever, post process, that's cool, but you're not like you don't touch it. You're not even supposed to be there, you don't alter the scene at all. So, yeah, that would bother me. But
right.
I mean, did he like? Okay, I guess technically, like, if we do this 30 stack frame, stack of 30 frames, and the first one, the Anteater was there, but in 29 he wasn't. Like, is that acceptable to add that one frame in later in Photoshop? Like,
I mean, theoretically, you shouldn't be doing photo stacking in any even in these type of awards unless it's because it basically turns it into an illustration.
Right. But don't they allow it for HDR merge? Isn't that technically still the photograph of?
I don't know. Most landscape awards, unless they're like my understanding, and somebody can possibly correct me. Carl Johnson, if you're possibly listening up in Alaska, you can tell me. I don't believe that they allow. I don't even know if they allow that at this point. Unless they might even. A lot of contests have started having. I forget what they call them, not montages, but like photos that are specifically stacked photos or something like that are like two photos from different time periods. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, again, the crazy thing is if you look at the adult award winners under animal portraits for the Natural History Museum, every single photo to me is better than the one. I mean, the eagle photo is kind of standard. It's like I've got shots like that. But like, I mean, the whale photo, there's whale photos. There's a fox carrying looks like an egg, and it's unbelievable. It's staring right at the camera. I mean, like, there's so many things that technically and just framing and everything are so much better. It's shocking that one even made it. But the balls for this photographer to stand by the photo. I mean,
die with the lie.
Yeah, go for it. I mean, if that's the hill you're going literally, if that's the hill you're going to die on, didn't even try that one.
What do we say about dark sense of humor?
I mean, it's sad, it's sad, but yeah.
I just like, why not? I don't know. Like, anytime I Photoshop work and you just say, hey, look, I Photoshopped it. This is something I Photoshopped when I was bored. Like,
I mean, yeah.
Well, we hope we answered your question, Pedro Peloso. He actually asked for this topic. So there you go, Pedro. We talked about the Anteater shot. And basically, we're always amazed by the gall of some people who will try and pass off a fake photo or lie, especially in these contests, because it seems like you're going to get caught. You're going to get found out. It's like they showed this photo and they'll show these photos to enough people who, are like going to say like, or even if the judges don't see it, which obviously they don't, it gets out there and somebody's going to see it and somebody's going to say something. So the moral of the story is just don't lie. Just don't be a dirtbag. Just don't be a bad person.
Also, if you're going to do it, at least try harder.
Yeah,
because I mean, like really literally on the BBC article, which we link in the show notes, it's literally, if you look at the photo, the taxidermy specimen is held at a visitor center at the entrance of the park. So literally every person who goes to this park can see this thing, and it's literally the exact same pose from the same angle. Like, I just bring in a different one. Like, bring in an Anteater if you're really that committed to this thing.
Yeah,
exactly.
Tell people.
Or hunt down an Anteater, kill it,
well,
stuff
if you're
it,
trying to
and
get
then
away
pose
with
it.
I mean, it's just like.
All right. Well, I did want to talk about one last thing. I wanted to address a user-submitted question by Mr. Jimmy Gates. our James Gates, our super fan, as I consider him, because he actually submits questions. You can submit questions too if you'd like us to talk about them on the show, as Jimmy did or as Pedro did just a moment ago. If you have topics or suggestions or questions you'd like us to address on the show, please send them to info@aroundthelens.com. But his question was an easy one. What do you normally carry with you while you're working? So I'll throw it to you, Ron. What do you normally carry with you while you're working? Your camera equipment. What's in your camera bag, so to speak?
Well, this is Hawaii, so you know,
So
a wide
lei,
hat is always good. Yeah,
sunblock.
lei, a nice shirt like this, sunblock. You know, I work with just one camera. I don't have enough money to pay for two, so I have to change lenses. So standard, nice wide angle lens and a nice telephoto lens.
Okay.
You can get by with 24 to 105 and a 100 to 400 to get you a lot of action. I also recommend maybe 24 to 70 to 7200. That's also a nice, good lens. Weird stuff that I might carry, plastic bags in case it rains because it's a tropical island, and it's good to keep your stuff dry. I keep plastic bags in there.
How about lava repellent? Do you carry any lava repellent with you?
You know, they sell that at the tourist centers, but it does not work.
I know.
Found out the hard way.
Do not be deceived. It is not an effective deterrent to lava. Nothing special. Thank you.
Thank you. Dad jokes all around.
Yeah.
Zach, what do you carry with you primarily?
I carry. I'm a 2-camera person. I long ago it limits the amount of dust that gets in your camera. So that's basically, I usually carry a, it depends on what I'm shooting, obviously, but if it's like night protest or something like that, usually it's my Nikon D750, and my Nikon D600, and then usually with the 35 1.4 Sigma, and then depending on what else, usually at least the 70 to 200 2.8. The VR1. I don't have the fancy UHD XL one, and it currently needs repairs. So it needs $500 in repairs right now. Dear Lord. But yeah, those are basically the 3 lenses that I carry everywhere. I also have a 24 to 105, which if I'm covering like a convention where there's like standard lighting, then I'll carry it. I'm probably going to be getting rid of that soon though.
What about like a notebook or some do you have like a note-taking material, or do you use your phone, or do you use...
I mean, if it's something that I'm going to do, I carry my Nikon Professional Services notebook that I have.
Nice.
It literally was sitting right next to me. It is what I keep notes in. It's actually a very nice notebook they sent to me. Yeah, no, I mean, I have, this thing is magical. I got actually a really good deal on it. It's the SanDisk Extreme 500. It's 250 gigs. Basically, it's a flash card inside it. So it's really great. It's like a rubberized top on it, so I feel like confident. It's USB 3.0, so it's quick. And then I carry, like, I have, the only thing I shoot with is SanDisk Extreme Pro SD. I think are they XC or what are they now? Anyway, SD cards. I've got about I think 10 now that I buy because I keep forgetting them when I go places, so I have to go to a Best Buy and buy 3 or 4 more of them. So I just keep accumulating them.
Nice.
But that's basically. I've started. I have a lens case holder that holds the 70-200. It's a low pro, like has a sling on it and a belt hook. So basically, I've thanks to the fact my back is completely shot at this point at 36, which is really great for a photojournalist. I have even gotten rid of mostly carrying anything but my 2 cameras, 3 lenses, maybe a 4th in another pouch that I just realized I lost somewhere. But that's all I really carry with for the most part. I don't file as I go, as I probably should, but that has a lot to do with the fact that my only laptop right now is a 17-inch Asus gaming machine. So I'm not carrying that on my back.
Nope.
Yeah, that's
awesome. And Andy, you're carrying around some D750s, right?
Yeah, the 2 D750, the 2470 2.8, 7200 2.8, and then the nifty 50 1.8 I love that. But I recently just got a 12 millimeter fisheye.
Okay.
Cool. 2.8, because I eventually would have get the 14 to 24. But so I was like, I'm not going to drop that much money. I don't know if it's too wide. So I was like, well, if I get a fisheye, like that would work still.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fun. It's different. It's challenging. The fisheye is. But
I'd highly recommend checking out. It's not a new lens anymore. The 17 to 35 2.8. It is incredible. It's really sharp, and I can personally tell you that it takes a baton and a police baton and keeps on chugging. Among other things, that lens has been through. It's literally fallen off the camera before. Like, that lens has been through more stuff and still works magically. I don't know how, but yeah, I'd highly recommend checking that lens out. Also, it's like $600 now or something.
That should be something on the specs list. When you go to like B&H Photo, it has like resolution, price, batonability.
I used to work at B&H Photo Video, and I sold more Tokina 11 to 17s by telling people, because I actually have video of it. You can go on my YouTube page. I have video of it of the Tokina 11 to 17 2.8 getting hit by a baton. You can actually hear the bong as it hits the lens, and it keeps it. It literally had it was a little rough on the. I think it had like a push pull a little bit on the zoom. It was a little rough on the push pull, and like when it got really humid or cold or anything like that, it was like a little bit rougher. But I still can't believe for like $450, whatever that lens cost way back in the day, like it's also that lens also survived a hurricane, literally. Wow. Because I'm an idiot and I went wading in hurricane waters, and didn't have a bag. I was very confident. So, thanks. But yeah, it survived all that. Yeah.
And Andy, what do you use for note taking?
I use my phone.
Okay.
Mostly. Cool. Yeah. But then also, like, I do, the portraits work and whatnot, and weddings I love doing weddings, like live events. Ties right in photojournal, but so I carry like a mini, light stands, and then I recently just got I can't ever say it, Young Nuo. Yeah, Young Nuo. I got some of those flashes and like a main module. So like I carry all that with me in the back of the Jeep now as well. Sweet. And then I have odds and ends, like always have waders. Yeah. I guess it's not with me, but yeah. Like I have waders, and of course it's Ohio, so I have my snow boots. Yeah. I have swim shoes because it floods everywhere around here. Yeah. We carry all that stuff, yeah.
There you go, Zach. Some more suggestions for your odd camera gear bag
accessories. I even have
story.
I'm sure Zach didn't mention his bulletproof vest and his combat helmet that he got.
Sure, why not?
Oh yeah, no. Well, I mean, I don't carry. That's not something I carry in my bag, obviously. No. And sadly or not, I mean, I actually haven't used my fantastic helmet yet, because I got that after Charlottesville, and I haven't really covered a con like that sort of thing yet, but even at Charlottesville I didn't wear a helmet. And gas masks are illegal in Virginia. Wow. So any mask or covering is, I guess possibly so in Georgia as well. It seems to be an expanding thing, but yeah.
I get that message because I think I saw some pictures.
One guy got arrested even though he wasn't wearing it down in the Newman, Georgia Nazi rally that happened last weekend. Yeah. So yeah, I think at least one guy got arrested. But yeah, no, I mean, waders. When I lived in Alaska, I had a lot more winter gear in my trunk, and like weather gear and that sort of thing. But now, for the most part, I don't have. I have that stuff, but I don't actually carry it anywhere near me. Yeah. So. Yeah.
I carry around the GH5 right now. I've got the 12 to 35 attached to it. But because I've switched to Micro Four Thirds, I've also got the battery grip. But because I've switched to Micro Four Thirds, I can carry a lot more camera equipment in my bag. So I've got 5 lenses, including the 12 to 35. I've got the 7 to 14 millimeter. I've got the 100 to 300, which I used this weekend. I went to a concert, and I was like in the back, nosebleeds or whatever, but I was able to zoom in right on the concert, the performers, no issues with that.
What does that work out to be practically?
50, what is that? 50.
What, the 70 to the 100 to 300? It's a 200 to 600 practically. So it's it's a 2 to 600 equivalent.
I'm sorry, that's right.
Okay, wow, that's nice to have.
Yeah. So I mean,
I miss having a crop sensor lens for that reason.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a 5.6. 3.5 to 5.6. So it's a relatively slow lens. But I mean, even shooting a concert at night, it wasn't that big a deal. I mean, I think I had my ISO up to about 1600 or 3200 at the max, really, and just to get the higher shutter speed. But it wasn't too big a deal. And then for more like reasonable work where I don't have to shoot something that's, a football field away, I've got my 35 to 105 2.8, so that's good for more general work. And then, of course, my nifty 50 right here, or 25 millimeter, I should say, 50 millimeter equivalent for, use when I want that really like shallow depth of field and low light situations. I believe it goes down to 1.7. They make a 1.4 version of this, but it's like $1,000 more expensive. So I was like, I'm good. And then, of course, I've got the young Nuo 4, probably the same flash you do, Andy. So that's my go-to flash. I've got a few other accessories and whatnot, but, I just love having all of that capability in my bag. Whereas, had I been, at the Canon time, maybe we could have like 3 lenses. Here I can have 5 lenses. I could probably stick another one in there too if I was really desperate. But, just nice to have all that kind of, capability. So again, another plug for Micro Four Thirds as always. But we're nearing.
I always feel like if I don't have it with me, I'm going to be thinking the entire shoot. Like I so wish I had that, 24 to 70 on me. Damn it.
Yeah.
Darn it.
Well, it's like if I'm at a shoot where I've got free reign to move around and I'm going to be there for a while.
Yeah.
I will use every single lens in my kit. I will find a reason to shoot wide, shoot close, everything, even if it's just for a few shots because why not? You've got the capability there. Yeah. But yeah, but I also like the idea of limiting myself to one lens and seeing what I can do creatively. So, it goes both ways.
See, I need to be stopped. I just covered, I photographed for a friend a thing called St. Baldrick's. It's a child cancer research fundraiser, and everyone shaves their heads. They raise money and do a thing. It's a really cool thing to cover because everyone's really happy for once. It's nice to cover something positive. But I shot, it was a 6-hour event because I got there obviously helping set up and things like that. And it was 6 hours event and I shot 3,900 frames. Wow. So not a single bit of video at all either, which is something new. But that's something it's speaking of the many memory cards and like switching lenses and things like that. And I even limited myself, I think, to 2 lenses too. So yeah.
But like photojournalism, you take 3 or 4 of every
Yeah, no, it's it's all burst, but it's still ridiculous.
Yeah, that's a lot to
Well, Zach, I am an overshooter just like you are, and my philosophy is it's digital. Who cares, You're not burning film.
I don't delete things.
Same
That's
here.
my only problem.
I never deleted a shot. I've saved every single shot I've ever photographed.
Yeah, so when you have a 250 gig, flash thing. I'm about to go cover the NRA convention, which is 3 days, and I'm like, great, that's going to probably be 150 gigs worth of bands. That's but you do have to consider that's $30 because that's a portion of I use mostly portable hard drives, and then back up on like more standard ones, more like plug-in ones. But I mean, like you have to consider that shooting 100 150 gigs or whatever over one event, like that's an extra $30 that you're adding on to the shoot because that's how much it costs to keep that stuff around.
Yeah.
And that's something that's like I'm slowly trying to remind myself. I mean, I'm not going to start shooting JPEG or anything like that, but dear God, no.
Yeah, let's not go crazy.
Oh. But yeah, it's just something it's just literally something I just started thinking about when I came back from that event and just kept uploading photos and being like, wow, my edit was 300 images.
Wow.
So that's when you can start getting bad. But yeah, anyway,
crazy.
Sorry.
No worries. All right, we're coming close to the end of our show now. So I wanted to give, of course, Andy the opportunity to close it out. Tell us what you would like to share with us, Andy. Where would you like to plug, or yourself, or what would you like people to go to and check out, if there's anything?
That's not the sirens at my house. I heard those.
It's probably at Ron's house.
The police have been watching, and yeah.
Yeah, no. Well, first, I mean, if I could say thanks to Midwest Photo. I think it's like mpx.com or something like that. They're still one of these good local camera stores. They're not a big conglomerate, right? And they're good. There's good people there that still believe in customer service. Yeah.
Right.
So like they sent me a bag and a tripod. So
Nice.
And completely unsolicited. Like I was like, wow, like I don't need it. B&H Photo for graciously sending me a new Nikon D750. And then they gave me a bunch of other stuff with it, man. So I was very fortunate for that. And then like just the people in the township here, I can't get over it. Like I mean, because it is a local paper, so like I'm getting pictures of their son, coming in first place at track. But I'm trying to do it artfully. So like I just think it was, to me it was like, oh, here's this cool picture. But I saw all at once like how it meant something to all these little individuals, and they all came together. And helped me and my family afterwards, like I said, cooking dinner and whatnot. And, I mean, they're just good people, man. But I mean, that's it. Yeah, I don't want to call it a plug. I wish I was getting plugged by the Creative Cloud for. Yeah. I'd love to get a check for that, but
all I have to do is get shot again. I mean, I think that's
yeah. No,
that's all it takes.
I'd still rather be using my ProMaster and not have a bullet wound. You know what I mean? But,
where can people find your work? What's the websites?
I have a website, Grimm.photos, Grimm, Grimm. .photos.
What's your newspaper site?
Oh, sorry, like newcarlisle.news.
Oh, okay, cool.
Great.
Yeah,
we'll put that link in the show notes for sure.
Yeah, it's not really interesting unless you live there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you never know. There might be some fans who want to check out the Grimm work.
If people want to hear about the pig story, that I shows I have no clue what I'm talking about because that story went national. Yeah, but the pig story's on there somewhere. And then like I'm on Facebook and Instagram. Just look for it. You could Google Andy Grimm and scroll down past all the getting shot stuff, and then you'll find my work.
Good luck. There's going to be a long time for that search to not be associated with you. But all right, great. Well, we'll definitely put those links in the show notes. Thanks so much, Andy, for coming on the show, talk about your experience. Truly appreciate it. I hope you don't ever get shot again.
Me neither.
Indeed. But if we do, hopefully it's just a straight through. Nothing, like no internal organs. That's the most important thing. But again, thank you.
The burn hurts.
What's that?
I said the burn hurts.
Oh yeah,
that's
I'm sure.
That's like hot lead. Like there was actually physical burning. Yeah.
Wow.
But no, seriously, thank you guys. Like, and I'm glad that it was like to talk about. That's why I did it. I wanted to talk about like cameras and stuff too. Like, not just, oh, you're that guy that was shot. Like, tell us that. Like, I don't want to talk about that.
Well, absolutely, Andy, and you're welcome to come back on whenever you want to talk about photos or your kids or backdrops. Whatever you want to talk about, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, the backdrop was the garage.
Indeed. No judgment.
So yeah, I'm gonna get back to paginating because I'm very late.
Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah, we don't want to keep you. Ron or Zach, you got anything to throw out there before we sign off on tonight's show?
Nope, nothing new for me. Just follow me on Twitter, ZD Roberts. I'll be covering the NRA convention this weekend. Lord help us all.
Okay,
so
great.
You're not that bad.
I've covered it for 4 years, so it's kind of a thing that I cover. So yeah,
it should have been there to defend me, I think, but
yeah,
that's BS politically. But anyway, it's a political organization.
Journalists.
Same with NAACP. Yeah. Well,
Ron, is there anything in Hawaii that you want to highlight that you're doing this week?
Please continue to watch my video presentations in the Philippines if you happen to be in the Philippines on Net25, and if you're in America, you can Google Net25 and see our Eagle Broadcasting Corporation live stream 24 hours a day.
Nice.
For the photo lovers among you, my Instagram is instagram.com/RonPhotoHawaii. And every now and then I take pictures and put them there.
All right, great. Well, I am David J. Murphy for Ron Hamilton and Zach Roberts. This has been Around the Lens episode 122. Thank you again, Andy, for making your appearance on the show. Again, we are so happy to have you listening to the show, and if you'd like to follow us, go to AroundTheLens.com and find all our social media and Patreons and all that fun stuff. Again, I am David J. Murphy. This has been Around the Lens 122, and we are out.